This story is titled, "While I was scraping mold off the bathroom ceiling, my wife told our son, if you want to be useless like dad, keep skipping homework." They laughed as I stood there, dripping with bleach and sweat. I finished the job. 2 weeks later, she was on her knees, begging me not to leave. You never really know when your marriage is going to die. Sometimes it's not the big things, the affairs, the financial disasters, the dramatic betrayals. Sometimes it's a quiet moment on a Saturday afternoon while you're balancing on a stepladder with bleach burning your lungs. I've been working on the bathroom ceiling for 3 hours. Our old Victorian house had persistent mold problems, and Claire, 39F, refused to hire professionals. "We can't afford it," she'd say, then go buy another designer handbag for her real estate showings. So here I was, 41M, doing my best to keep our home from literally rotting above our heads. Tommy, 13M, had been sprawled in the hallway with his phone, supposedly doing homework on his school app. I could hear Claire's heels clicking on the hardwood floors downstairs. She'd just returned from showing another $1 million listing she wouldn't sell. "Mom," Tommy called out, "do I really have to finish this math homework?" It's Saturday. The clicking heels came up the stairs. I focused on scrubbing another patch of black mold, sweat and bleach running down my arms. 20 years of construction work had taught me how to handle household repairs, even if Claire thought it made me common. "Tommy, honey," Claire's voice dripped with that familiar contempt. "If you want to end up like your father, scrubbing other people's houses for a living, then sure, skip your homework." I froze on the ladder. "Look at him up there," she continued, and I could hear the sneer in her voice. "That's what happens when you don't apply yourself. You end up being the handyman in your own home because you can't afford to hire real professionals." Tommy laughed, that new, cruel laugh he'd been developing lately. "Dad's basically the janitor." The bleach dripped into my eyes, but I didn't wipe it away. Something else was burning now, something deeper than chemical irritation. 20 years of construction work had put Tommy through private school. Had bought this Victorian house Claire loved to show off to her real estate friends. Had paid for every designer bag, every luxury car lease, every country club membership she used to network with clients. I carefully wiped my hands on my old t-shirt and kept scrubbing. But something had shifted in that moment, something fundamental. They say mold can rot a house from the inside out. Turns out contempt can do the same thing to a marriage. That night, I couldn't sleep. Their laughter kept echoing in my head. Dad's basically the janitor. 20 years of breaking my back to give them a good life, reduced to a joke. I touched the calluses on my hands in the dark, badges of honor turned into marks of shame by my own family. The next day, I was fixing a leak under the kitchen sink. Sunday maintenance, the kind of work that kept our vintage Victorian from falling apart while Claire was out showing houses to people who could afford maintenance staff. Tommy wandered in, fresh from his video games, that new smirk on his face. "Mom says we're getting the bathroom professionally done next week. You know, by people who actually know what they're doing." Something snapped inside me. I slid out from under the sink, my back protesting after hours of work. "You think this is funny?" My voice was shaking. "You think it's beneath you to know how to fix things? To work with your hands? Chill, Dad. Don't get mad just because you never made anything of yourself." "Made anything of myself?" I stood up, water dripping from my clothes. "Who do you think paid for your precious private school? Your gaming computer? This house? Every weekend I'm here fixing something, maintaining something, making sure you have a good home to live in while you sit there playing games." Tommy backed up, and used to seeing me angry. "Mom says it. Your mother says a lot of things. But she's never had to climb into a crawl space or fix a burst pipe at midnight or spend her weekends keeping this house from falling apart. A real man isn't afraid of hard work, son. A real man doesn't scream at his kid." Tommy ran out, probably already texting Claire. Sure enough, within an hour, Claire's BMW screeched into the driveway. She burst in, designer heels clicking like bullets on the hardwood I'd refinished last summer. "How dare you?" she screamed. "Tommy said you went ballistic, called him worthless, said he wasn't a real man." "That's not what it. He said you were ranting like a crazy person, threatening him just because he mentioned we're getting professional repairs." I looked at Tommy, hiding behind his mother, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. He'd learned manipulation from the best. "Claire, he's twisting what—" "Get out." Her voice was ice. "Get out of this house. I won't have my son terrorized by some manual laborer with an inferiority complex. I've given everything to this family," I said quietly. 20 years of my life, my sweat, my time. "Oh please," she laughed, that cruel laugh Tommy had inherited. You're just the handyman who lives here. We can hire professionals to do what you do. Better, in fact. Get out before I call the police." I looked at my son, this boy I'd given everything for, as he smirked behind his mother. In that moment, I saw what I'd allowed them to become, what I'd become in their eyes. "Okay," I said simply, wiping my hands on my work jeans. "Okay. But remember this moment. Both of you. Remember it very clearly." As I walked upstairs to pack a bag, I heard Tommy say, "Good riddance. Now we can get real professionals to fix things." Claire laughed. "Finally. I've already got a maintenance company's number. They're actually qualified. They didn't know how much work I really did around here. How many small disasters I prevented. How many repairs I'd made that would have cost thousands. They were about to learn that sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone, and sometimes what you have is worth a lot more than you thought." My friend Mark's couch wasn't comfortable, but it was better than my pride. I told him everything while we shared beers that night, about the mold, their laughter, Tommy's manipulation, Claire's final cruel dismissal. Those ungrateful. Mark couldn't even finish the sentence. Then his eyes lit up with an idea. "Hey, remember that crew that worked on my house last year? The ones who seemed professional at first but totally screwed everything up." I took another sip of beer. "The ones who charge premium rates but use cheap materials?" "Exactly. Superior Home Solutions." Mark grinned. "Very impressive website. Great initial presentation. But everything they touched fell apart within weeks. My bathroom renovation alone cost me thousands to fix properly. Something stirred in my chest, not quite revenge, but justice. Claire always did fall for a good marketing pitch. Mark was already pulling up their website on his phone. "Look at this. Their portfolio looks amazing. All stage photos, of course. But Claire won't know that. And they're masters at upselling unnecessary work. She'd believe them over me any day," I said bitterly, remembering how she dismissed my warnings about the house's specific quirks. "I'll have Jenny call her," Mark said, referring to his wife. "You know, woman to woman. Rave about their incredible work on our house." Claire's always been a bit jealous of Jenny's place anyway. The plan was simple. Jenny would casually mention Superior Home Solutions to Claire, praising their reasonable rates and professional approach. She'd make it sound like she was doing Claire a favor, sharing an insider secret. "They'll charge her triple what regular contractors would," Mark explained. "They'll promise top-tier work, but use the cheapest materials. And the best part? Everything will look great for about 2 weeks." I thought about Claire's precious Victorian house, the one I'd maintained so carefully for years. About all the little tricks I'd learned to deal with its old pipes, its temperamental heating system, its specific needs. "The mold will come back worse than before," I said quietly. "They won't know about the ventilation issues in that bathroom." "Exactly. And by then, they'll have her money, and their warranty will be conveniently void due to some fine print." That night, I lay on Mark's couch, thinking about Claire's smug face when she mentioned real professionals. About Tommy's smirk when he talked about getting people who actually know what they're doing. The next morning, Jenny made the call. I could hear Claire's excited voice through the phone, eager for the referral. Jenny laid it on thick, talked about their attention to detail and premium service. "Oh, they're not cheap," Jenny said, playing her part perfectly. "But you get what you pay for, right? And there's so much more professional than having your ex-husband do it." I could practically hear Claire preening at the thought of hiring an exclusive contractor, someone worthy of her precious house. 2 days later, Superior Home Solutions had the job. I heard through Mark that Claire was thrilled with their initial presentation, their promises of luxury upgrades and premium materials. What she didn't know was that in 2 weeks, those premium materials would start showing their true quality. The mold wouldn't just come back. It would thrive in the improperly sealed spaces. The luxury upgrades would start failing one by one. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about letting people learn the hard way what they've lost. A week later, I ran into them at Thompson's Market. I was buying microwave dinners for my stay at Mark's when I heard her voice, loud enough to make sure everyone heard. "Oh look, Tommy, it's your father. I guess handymen shop in the frozen food section." Her laugh echoed through the aisle. "How's life without your tool belt?" I tried to walk past them, but she stepped in front of my cart, designer purse swinging. The same purse I'd fixed last month when its strap broke. "Superior Home Solutions started work yesterday," she announced, eyes glittering with malice. $12,000 for the bathroom renovation. Real professionals, with real credentials. Not just some amateur playing handyman. $12,000. I knew that was almost all she had saved. The commission checks hadn't been coming in like they used to. That's a lot of money, Claire, I said quietly. You sure you can afford? Don't pretend to care about our finances anymore. She cut me off. These people know what they're doing. Their equipment alone costs more than you make in a year. A small crowd of shoppers had gathered, watching the drama unfold. Claire was playing to them, every inch the wronged woman standing up to her inferior ex. You'll regret this, I said, my voice shaking. Mark my words, Claire. In a few weeks, you'll be on your knees begging me to come back and fix what they've done. In your dreams, Tommy stepped forward, that cruel smirk still on his face. You know what my friends call you behind your back? The plunger. Because you're full of shit and only good for cleaning up messes. The crowd gasped. Claire beamed with pride at her son's cruelty. You taught him well, I said to Claire. But remember something, I was there when the pipes burst at 3 a.m. When the boiler failed in the middle of winter. When the roof leaked during that storm. Where will your precious contractors be when things go wrong at midnight? They'll be on speed dial, Claire shot back. And they'll actually know what they're doing. I had to refinance the house to afford them, but it's worth every penny to finally have real work done. My blood ran cold. You refinanced the Victorian? Claire, that house needs specific. Don't you dare pretend you know better than professionals, she nearly screamed. I'd rather go into debt than rely on your amateur repairs ever again. Tommy grabbed a frozen dinner from my cart and held it up. Look, Mom, bachelor food. Guess that's all the plunger can afford now. I looked at my son, this cruel stranger wearing my child's face. At Claire, so desperate to prove me worthless that she'd refinanced our home of 20 years. 2 weeks, I said quietly. In 2 weeks, when everything starts falling apart, remember this moment. Remember how much you paid to replace someone who did it for free. Someone who actually cared about that house and you. The only thing falling apart was your shoddy workmanship, Claire sneered. Come on, Tommy. Let's leave the plunger to his frozen dinners. As they walked away, I heard Tommy say loudly, can't believe I used to think he was good at anything. Claire's laughter echoed through the store. Don't worry, honey. Now we have people who actually know what quality work looks like. I stood there, frozen dinner melting in my cart, as other shoppers awkwardly moved away. But I wasn't embarrassed. Because I knew something they didn't. I knew what Superior Home Solutions had done to Mark's house. And I knew exactly how long it would take for Claire's quality work to show its true colors. During those 2 weeks at Mark's, I had time to think. Really think. About the way Claire's eyes would linger on her colleague David during office parties. About how she'd started working late only after he joined the firm. About Tommy, who'd gone from a curious kid who used to follow me around with a toy hammer to this sneering stranger who called me the plunger. Maybe it's better this way, I told Mark one evening. I was just their handyman with benefits. Free labor who helped pay the bills. Then came the call. Claire's number flashing on my phone. 2 weeks to the day after Superior Home Solutions finished their premium renovation. I just wanted you to see what real work looks like, she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. The bathroom is absolutely gorgeous. Italian tiles, designer fixtures, proper ventilation. I let her ramble, listening to her list off terms she'd probably learned from the contractor's sales pitch. And the mold? Completely gone. Not a trace. See what happens when you hire actual professionals? They knew exactly what they were doing, unlike Mom. MOM. Tommy's panicked voice cut through her gloating. The ceiling. The bathroom ceiling. There was a moment of confusion, rustling sounds. What are you talking about? I'm on the phone proving to your father that. Claire's voice stopped abruptly. I could hear it through the phone, the sound of wet plaster hitting tile. The sound I'd been waiting for. Oh my God, Claire whispered. The whole ceiling is. Tommy, you're covered in. I didn't wait to hear more. I ended the call, turned off my phone, and poured myself a beer. It started, didn't it? Mark asked, seeing my expression. Yep. I took a long sip. Right on schedule. You gonna answer when she calls back? I thought about Claire's smug voice listing off fancy features she didn't understand. About Tommy's cruel nickname for me. About 20 years of fixing things while they complained about how I did it. No, I said finally. Let them call their real professionals. I'm sure they'll be happy to charge emergency rates. My phone started buzzing again, Claire's number. Then Tommy's. Then Claire's again. I turned it off completely and went to bed. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly, without dreams of mold or cruel laughter or falling plaster. Sometimes the best response isn't answering at all. Sometimes it's just letting go and letting karma do its work. 2 days of silence. 2 days of letting their calls go to voicemail. Then came the knock at Mark's door. There stood Claire, her pristine white designer suit already speckled with raindrops, makeup slightly smeared, looking nothing like the polished real estate agent who'd mocked me in the supermarket. Tommy skulked behind her, his face a mix of embarrassment and desperation. "Don't even think about letting them in," I called from the living room, loud enough for them to hear. "Please," Claire's voice cracked. "Superior Home Solutions won't answer our calls. The ceiling is, there's water everywhere. The mold is back, but worse. It's black, and it's spreading into. Sounds like a job for real professionals." I couldn't help but smirk. "You know, the ones with the expensive equipment?" "Dad," Tommy stepped forward, his usual swagger gone. "I know I was. I was awful. But the bathroom is ruined. Mom's bedroom ceiling is starting to stain too. The whole house smells like mold." I finished for him. Funny how that works. Almost like someone who lived there for 20 years might have known what he was talking about. Claire wiped rain from her face, smearing her mascara further. I called 3 other contractors. They all want thousands just to assess the damage. The refinancing took everything we had. That's not my problem anymore. I stood up, walking to the door. "I'm just the plunger, remember? Only good for cleaning up messes." Tommy flinched at his own words being thrown back at him. "I didn't mean." "Yes, you did. Both of you did. Every laugh, every sneer, every moment of mockery. You meant all of it." I looked at Claire's ruined white suit. "How much did that outfit cost? The one you're wearing to beg for help from someone so beneath you?" $2,000, she whispered, a drop of rain sliding down her nose. "Funny. That's about what proper ventilation would have cost if you'd listened to me 6 months ago." "Jim, please." Claire's voice was barely audible. "I know we were wrong. I know we treated you terribly. But the house." "Our beautiful house," Tommy added. "Dad, you always knew exactly what to do. These guys just covered everything up with fancy tiles and paint. But you actually fixed things." I laughed, a genuine, hearty laugh. "Now that's ironic. Dad actually fixed things. Wasn't I just the amateur handyman last week? The embarrassing father you had to explain to your friends." A car drove by, splashing more water onto Claire's white suit. She didn't even flinch, just stood there dripping. "We'll pay you," she said desperately. "Whatever you want. Like you paid Superior Home Solutions? All $12,000? Oh wait, you can't, because you refinanced the house to prove how much better they were than me." Thunder rumbled in the distance. More rain was coming. "The bathroom's destroyed," Tommy said quietly. "Everything they did, it's all falling apart. And the smell. Mom can't even show houses because her clothes all smell like mold." "Well," I smiled, "I guess that's what happens when you hire real professionals. Good luck with that. Mark, would you mind closing the door? There's a draft." "Jim, wait." Claire reached for the door. "No." My voice was final. "You wanted professionals? Call them. You wanted someone worthy of your precious house? Find them. You wanted me gone? Congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted." The last thing I saw as Mark closed the door was Claire's mascara-streaked face and Tommy's devastated expression. Through the window, I watched them stand there for a moment, rain soaking them completely, before slowly turning to leave. "Harsh," Mark said, but he was smiling. "Sometimes," I replied, "people need to learn the hard way what quality work really looks like." Life has a funny way of coming full circle. 6 months after the bathroom disaster, Mark and I started Quality First Home Services. Turns out there were plenty of people willing to pay good money for honest work done right. Word spread about how we'd saved old houses that other contractors had given up on. I heard through mutual friends that Claire had started dating David from her office, the one she'd always stayed late with. He'd moved in after their rushed divorce, bringing his own brand of handyman skills to the Victorian. Then came the text from Tommy that changed everything. "Dad, he's doing it all wrong. He's using the wrong sealant on the bathroom tiles, just like those contractors did. I remember how you always said this house needs special materials because of its age." I stared at my phone, surprised by the technical details in Tommy's observation. A second text followed. "I've been watching renovation videos online, trying to understand what you used to do. Everything you fixed, it lasted for years. Everything they do falls apart in weeks." Claire had apparently married David quickly, hoping his fix-it skills would save her crumbling house. But Tommy kept texting me about David's mistakes, using the wrong grout, ignoring ventilation issues, painting over mold instead of treating it. "Can I come watch you work sometime?" Tommy's message caught me off guard. Like I used to when I was little? Before I became such a jerk? I found him waiting outside one of our job sites the next day. No phone in hand, no designer clothes, just work boots and old jeans. I was wrong, he said simply. About everything. About you. About what it means to be good at something. He started coming by after school, learning the proper way to repair things. Not the quick fixes David favored, but the thorough, lasting work I'd always done. Mark even started paying him for weekend help. Claire wasn't happy about it. She tried to forbid Tommy from working with me, claiming I was turning him into a laborer. But Tommy stood his ground. Mom, he told her, Dad's company made more last month than your house is worth. He's not just a laborer, he's an expert. And I want to learn from him. The last time I saw Claire, she was trying to convince me to fix the Victorians' ongoing problems for Tommy's sake. She hadn't changed, still looking down on the work while desperately needing it done. Ask your husband, I said simply. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. But Tommy? He's learning every day. About proper ventilation, about the importance of using the right materials, about taking pride in doing things correctly. Sometimes he mentions how the Victorian is slowly deteriorating under David's care, but he doesn't mock anymore. Instead, he understands. Last week, he helped me complete a particularly tricky renovation. As we stood back admiring our work, he said something that made all the past pain worth it. Thanks, Dad. Not just for teaching me about home repair, for teaching me what real quality looks like, in work and in character. Claire may never understand the value of what she threw away, but Tommy does. And in the end, that's worth more than any house.